you think I could sue Waterstones for, like, emotional damage? Because I broke a nail. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. I have a bit of a problem. This hasn't really happened since I started making videos, since I started reading again properly, but you know, it was bound to happen at some point because it's something that happens to every reader every so often, and that is, I think I am in the middle of a reading slump. I don't know what it is. It could be the weather, because it's been weird lately. It could be the fact that I'm busier than normal. I've been busier with like performing and rehearsing, and summer's always pretty busy for that. It could be that I have had a string of disappointments in reading. Like, I read a book that I had assumed was going to be 5 stars because it was part of a series that I've absolutely loved, but it ended up only being 4.75 stars, which seems very picky, and like, it is definitely very picky, but it's still annoying. It's still disappointing when a book you think is going to be 5 stars isn't actually 5 stars. And then after that, I went straight on to reading not 1, but 2 books, which were not good. Like, one of them was like a 2-star read, hated it, and then the other one was 3 stars, and it was just mid. But even then, it's annoying when you're reading a book and you're not really getting anything out of it. And like, I told myself I need to get better at DNFing books, and I've been trying to DNF books, but I am such a completionist. Like, I have just this need to really power through when I'm reading a book. It's annoying because, you know, I'm sat there reading this book that I'm not actually enjoying and still feeling this need to finish it because I've committed to it. I don't know, it's weird. So yeah, I've just lost the motivation to pick up a book. It's annoying. I hate it. But I think I have a solution, and that solution comes in the form of this hefty pile of books. These are books which I have picked out from my TBR pile as being summery reads. And like, the weather at the moment is not all that summery. Like, we had a heat wave a couple weeks ago, which lasted for a few days, and then after that, it's just been kind of cloudy and rainy. And like, that's not me saying that I miss the heat wave, because the heat wave was horrible. Absolutely hated it. But at the same time, I feel like our entire 3 months of summer were just like condensed into that 1 week, and that's it. That's all we're having. We're now in autumn, in the middle of July. So yeah, the weather has not been all that summery, but I'm hoping that these books will bring the summery vibes. And I'm just looking for some easy reads that aren't going to take a massive amount of brain power or focus for me to read, just so that I can get back into the swing of things. We've got a bit of a range in this pile. We've got some literary fiction, some romance, we've got a thriller, yeah, whole range of stuff. And hopefully there will be fairly easy reads. So in terms of where to start, I am going to start with what I know. And what I know is that I really enjoy reading Emily Henry's books. So I'm going to start with Happy Place. I've had it on good authority that I'm going to enjoy this one. And I absolutely loved Funny Story when I read it. Like, I read it almost as soon as it came out, and it was so good. So I am thinking I'm gonna enjoy this and whiz through it, which will be good. Yeah. And then I don't know. I don't really have a set plan for this video. I'm just gonna read and see what happens. I have a pre-order coming in on, I think, well, the book comes out on the 18th of July, and that is The End Crowns All by B. Fitzgerald, which is my most anticipated release. of the year, and something I'm definitely sure I'm gonna love. So I'm treating that as like my if all else fails thing, because I know if these books don't pull me out of a reading slump, then that definitely will. But at the same time, I am literally going to drop everything to read The Uncrowned when it arrives. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm gonna go with the flow. We'll see what happens. So I'm gonna make a start on Happy Place, and we'll see what happens. Again. Hello. I finished Happy Place, and let's just say I am pretty happy about it. This book, for those of you who do not know and have been living under a rock over the past year or so since it's been out, follows a couple. They're called Harriet and Wynne, and they're kind of the perfect couple. Their friends kind of look to them as like the paragon of romance, and they've been engaged for a few years, and they both get invited along with their friends to this holiday house that the friend group spend every summer in, except their friends don't know that they have broken up and have been broken up for the past 6 months. And the holiday home is selling, so it's their last summer there and they don't want to mess it up. And so to avoid all conflict whatsoever, which is so relatable, they decide that they need to pretend to still be together over the next week, and shenanigans ensue from there. If you told me after reading Funny Story that I would find an Emily Henry book that I enjoyed more than Funny Story, I probably wouldn't have believed you. But I think this might have just pipped it to the post. I don't know if it's necessarily like recency bias or anything, because to be honest, I tend to say that about every single Emily Henry book I've read. Like, each one has steadily gotten better. So it could just be me excited after finishing it going, this is the best thing I've ever read. But honestly, this book was amazing. It is so much more than a second chance romance, and I'm saying that as someone who is not a massive fan of second chance romances. It's probably one of my least favourite tropes. So if that had been all that this is, I probably wouldn't have enjoyed it, but it also, you know, follows this group of friends over the years, and it talks about friendship and found family and the idea that home isn't necessarily a place, it can be a group of people. One thing I love about Emily Henry's books is that the characters have problems and conflicts outside of each other. Like, the romance is still very much the main factor, but there are so many other things that come into play. Like, in this book, for example, Harriet is kind of dealing with being a massive people pleaser, which, again, highly relatable. She's got issues with her parents and her career, while Wynne is dealing with issues of his own. He's dealing with grief and depression and a lot of really difficult things. So I did really like there was stuff going on outside of the romance, but at the same time, the romance was amazing. Like, the chemistry between these two characters was off the charts. Like, they are soulmates for real. Like, they belong together. And the other characters in this friendship group were also very, very well written. They were all very three-dimensional, very real. They all were dealing with individual issues throughout the course of the book. It felt like you were part of this friendship group, and I didn't want this book to end, because at the end it felt like you were saying goodbye to a group of friends you'd known for a really long time, despite me, you know, reading this over the course of 3 or 4 days. I got so extremely attached to these characters, and that is just the mark of an amazing book. So, safe to say, Happy Place did indeed make me feel very happy. And also the fact that I've absolutely whizzed through this book means that I am definitely coming out of the reading slump. I don't know if I'm all the way there yet, but this has definitely helped a huge amount. So in other very exciting news, I got an email today telling me that a parcel from Waterstones was due to be delivered tomorrow, and I know exactly what it is. It is my most anticipated release of this year. It's the End Crown All, and I'm just so excited to get it. However, I'm not actually going to be in tomorrow. I'm literally out the whole day. I am going across the country. I'm going up north for the day, and I'm spending several hours on trains there and back. So I'm gonna have to like put off reading it for the time being, which is very sad. But it will, hopefully, if one of my family members manages to take it in, it will hopefully be waiting for me when I come back tomorrow night. But the fact that I'm going to be on the train so much tomorrow means that I'm going to have a lot of time to do some reading. So I'm going to take some books along with me. It might be a bit of a mistake if my bag ends up being too heavy, but we'll make it work. We will make it work. That's kind of partly why I was trying to whiz through this book as much as possible, because I did not want to take a hardback on the train with me. So I have got You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty by Akwaeke Emezi, which, I mean, it's still kind of romance vibes. I think this is slightly less of a rom-com than Happy Place. I feel like it's going to be a little bit less uplifting, but I'm still kind of after those romance vibes. So I think this is going to be a good choice for my next read. Also, I have heard such good things about Akwaeke Emezi's work, so I am really looking forward to trying one of their books. And then also, in case I get bored with reading the same thing for hours on end, I am going to bring along Heatwave by Victor Justin, which is a tiny little book, so it won't take me very long to read. I'm definitely going to get through it tomorrow, like the whole thing. And I think this is more of a thriller vibe, so quite different to the other two books that I have read or am reading. So definitely a bit of a palette cleanser, I suppose, if I need it. And yeah, these are the two books that I'm going to read next, and I will update you probably tomorrow night, hopefully with an update on at least one of the books, if not with an update of me receiving another book. We'll see. Hello, it's 11 o'clock at night and I've just gotten in. It's been a day. I've spent a total of around 8 hours travelling today. Yeah. I'm very tired, but the fact that I've spent so much time travelling today has meant that I have gotten a lot of reading done, which is great. I did end up finishing Heatwave. I read it on the train back from Leeds to London. Yeah, and I finished it when we were still, about half an hour out. So yeah, pretty quick read. It's kind of a psychological thrillery type book. It's not really a thriller. I don't know. It's about a 17-year-old boy who is on holiday in the south of France at a campsite, and the night before his final day at the campsite, he witnesses another 17-year-old boy commit suicide, and he decides that it is the best course of action to drag this boy's body to the beach and bury him, and then he has to kind of go through his final day at the beach just carrying the weight of that guilt and paranoia that someone is going to find the body and blame it on him. Yeah, and the book follows those events. It did a really good job of capturing the kind of uncomfortableness of the heat wave, because most of this book covers the final day of the holiday, and that also happens to be the hottest day that France has experienced in like 17 years. So they're in the middle of a heat wave, and yeah, this book definitely had that kind of uncomfortable vibe to it. The narrative voice was very strong. It did a really good job of capturing the psyche of a 17-year-old boy who has no idea how to be an independent, logically thinking adult. There are lots of quite simple sentences and rhetorical questions, and it's very kind of stream of consciousness narration, which really helps to illustrate the main character's kind of descent into madness as he becomes increasingly paranoid that he will get found out. It was a very interesting read. Did not take me long to finish it, A, because it is a short book, and B, because it's pretty gripping. It's quite fast paced, so you get through it pretty quickly and you don't really want to put it down. I did feel like the ending was a little bit abrupt and open-ended, so if you like open endings then you're fine, but yeah, I don't know, I didn't really know what to make of the ending. So that is Heatwave by Victor Justin, translated by Sam Taylor. I also managed to get quite a good way through You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty. I'm that much, so I've got this much to go, about 75 pages to go, which is pretty good, I think. I'm really enjoying it so far. It's another one of those books that you just like can't put down. It's written in a very kind of steamy way, and not steamy as in like spicy, although this is a fairly spicy book. It's steamy in the sense that like it feels kind of warm and suffocating in a way. But I'll give you more of my thoughts when I've actually finished it, which will probably be tomorrow because I'm so far through it already. And then the main event of this segment of the video, I guess, I got back and this was waiting for me, just in the hallway, and I know exactly what this is. It's very exciting, and yeah, I'm gonna open it on camera and yeah, rip this open. Let's try the other end. That is not satisfying. I want my money back. Let me in. Let me in. Let me in, please.
Let me in, please.
I'm trying very hard to do this without like chipping my nails, because my nails look pretty good at the moment. They're like multi-chrome. It's nice. So I want to protect them. Ow. Oh. I think I jinxed it. I just like really broke one of my nails. That is not good. Do you think I could sue Waterstones for like emotional damage? Because I broke a nail.
2 hours later.
There you go. Okay, it's open. I see blue. Are we ready for this? Hang on, I'll try and get it so that you can see it first. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. She is stunning. Look at her. I'm so happy right now. I can't believe I'm holding this in my hands. Like, I pre-ordered this book. Well, I put it on my wish list as soon as it was announced because I was hoping there would be another Waterstones exclusive edition to match my copy of Golgotha's Queen. And then as soon as the Waterstones exclusive was announced, I added that to my cart so quickly. And then underneath the dust jacket, we get this. Look at that. This is making me extremely happy. And it's annoying because I have got to finish this first before I make a start on this. Because otherwise I'm just going to give up on this. And I don't want to give up on this because it's really good. It's so good, and it's like just gotten to a really kind of exciting tense part. So I'm going to finish this before I make a start on this. I'm going to. She's just, oh, she's so pretty. I'm very excited. Hello, it's the next day and I have finished reading You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty by Akweke Emezi. This book follows Faye, who is our main character, and she is just starting to date again after a big tragedy, a big loss in her life, and she ends up going to this tropical island with a man that she has been seeing, but she ends up falling for someone else on this island, someone who she shouldn't really be pursuing, but someone that she cannot physically stay away from. It's like super messy and I'm absolutely here for it. I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was very easy to read. It was very digestible. I didn't get bored at all with it, even though I was literally reading it for hours on the train. Like, I didn't get distracted at all. It was great, but also it's very well written. Like, some of the prose is just great. It deals really well with the theme of grief. Grief plays a massive part in this book. Faye is an artist and she uses her grief to really power her work, which is very cool to see. I thought that Faye herself as a protagonist was very well written. I loved how she was just so blunt and straightforward and to the point with literally everyone she talks to. Like, she doesn't have much of a filter when she wants answers. Like, she will ask the right questions and with not much of a preamble or without sugarcoating anything. And as someone whose least favourite trope is miscommunication, having a main character who literally gets to the point and refuses to not communicate is just very refreshing. It was very good to read. Some of the other characters I feel could have done with a little bit more development. In particular, Joy, who is Faye's best friend, and she does spend most of the book on FaceTime because Faye is off in this tropical island and she's back in New York. So it might have been too difficult to like follow her story and have her kind of have a developed character arc, but I felt like her character had a lot of potential and we didn't really kind of get to see a lot of that happen, a lot of that in action. A lot of it kind of was going on behind the scenes and not on the page. I also felt like Lorraine, who is the sister of the man that Faye goes to this tropical island with, she could have also maybe had a little bit more development. There was something really interesting in her character where she was kind of standoffish and didn't really connect with Faye at all and was very kind of closed off initially, like when Faye first met her, and then when she went to Lorraine's house and Lorraine was in an environment that she was fully comfortable in, she seemed a lot nicer. And I don't know, I felt like that could have been explored. I was expecting to have some kind of explanation of that, whether, you know, her demeanor was affected by where she was and how comfortable she felt in whichever space she was in. But that was never really addressed. So yeah, I would have loved to have seen more of her. I think what I'm saying is that this book could have been longer. I was wanting more, which I guess is a good place to leave a book. I'd rather be left wanting more than left wanting the book to end, because I'm extremely bored. So that is You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty. A really good read. I did enjoy it, despite my kind of small petty criticisms. Yeah, a really good summer read. I feel like I am already out of my reading slump, which was the purpose of this video, so I could end it here, but where's the fun in that? Because I'm going to read this next, and I'm probably going to want to scream about it when I'm done, so let's go. Hello. I finished reading The End Crowns All last night, and safe to say, I think I've found my next 5-star read. As I said before, this is a sapphic reimagining of the Trojan War, starring Helen and Cassandra as they start off as enemies, but eventually become reluctant allies, and then something more, as they join forces to defy fate and fight the gods and try and save their city. It's a real enemies to lovers slow burn romance, and when I say slow burn, I mean slow burn. This is a chunky book. It's nearly 600 pages long, and it takes a long time for the two of them to get their shit together. There is so much pining and being oblivious of their own feelings and being oblivious of each other's feelings. It's a mess, but when they do eventually get together, it is just so worth the wait. It is just so romantic, and the dedication they have for each other and the love they have for each other, it's like some of the things that they say about each other, like in their own point of view chapters. I have no words. In terms of plot, the stakes are super high. I mean, they're literally fighting to save their city that is destined to fall. So yeah, stakes are high. It makes the book pretty tense, and there's quite a bit of action, and there are some really heartbreaking scenes as well. I definitely see a few similarities to Girl Goddess Queen in terms of feminist themes in this book. Both of the books feature really strong female characters who kind of band together and support each other, and in the case of this book, it is literally a city full of women who join together and have to look after Troy once the men are all out fighting in the war, and they, you know, have to take care of the city. And just reading about all of the women utilizing their individual strengths and skills is just, it's so great to read about. And then I can also draw similarities between the characters of Persephone and Girl Goddess Queen and Cassandra in this book, in the sense that they are both women who truly come into their powers over the course of their books and take ownership of them and use them for good. And it really is a feminist retelling. I know the phrase feminist retelling gets thrown about an awful lot nowadays, but it definitely is an accurate way to describe this book. This is literally about women taking control of their own destiny. Literally. This book is also unapologetically queer. There are so many characters who are part of the LGBTQ+ community, and you know, it's not made a big thing in this book. It's not the main storyline. You've got gay characters, bi characters, trans characters. Cassandra in particular is an asexual lesbian, and her experience of asexuality is just so well written. I believe B. Fitzgerald drew on her own experiences of asexuality for her, which is just so cool and would definitely explain why it is so well written. Overall, I love this book. It is everything I have ever wanted in a retelling, and I've read a lot of retellings, especially a lot of Trojan War retellings, so my bar was pretty high, and I mean, this book truly surpassed it. It leaped over that bar. So that was The End Crowns All by B. Fitzgerald, and you know what? I think I have found a new favourite author of mine. I can't wait to see what she puts out next. So I do think that I have accomplished what I set out to do in this video, and that was to get over a reading slump. I absolutely sped through The End Crowns All, which is surprising given how long it was. But I think there is maybe one more thing I could do to truly test that I am fully out of the woods, out of this reading slump, and that is to read a literary fiction book, because that is what I was struggling with at first. I was struggling reading literary fiction in my last kind of reading challenge in June, and so I think now is the time to return to that genre and see if I feel any better about doing it. So I'm going to read Summer by Ali Smith. If any of the other Ali Smith books I've read are anything to go by, then it's going to be pretty literary and require quite a bit of brain power to get through. So I think it's going to be the perfect test to really see if I'm out of this reading slump. It might put me back into the reading slump. We'll have to see. That is a risk that I am willing to take. So I will give you an update when I finished. So I finished reading Summer by Ali Smith last night. So let's talk about it. This is the fourth book in Ali Smith's seasonal quartet, although this is the third one that I've read. I haven't read Autumn, which is meant to be the first one. I'm kind of reading it out of order, but I wanted to read them as the seasons kind of progressed. They kind of somewhat act like interconnected standalones anyway, so I don't think I'm really spoiling much by saving Autumn till last, potentially. I hope not, at least. This book primarily follows one family who live in Brighton. It's set during kind of the first months of 2020, so just as COVID is becoming well known as a thing, shortly before the lockdowns kind of come into place. And in this family you have Sasha, who's 16 years old. She is pretty left-wing in her political mindset. She kind of wants to be a climate activist. She likes nature a lot, especially birds. And then you have her brother Robert, who's 13 years old and is on completely the other side of the political spectrum. He has pretty right-wing views. Maybe he's been watching one too many Andrew Tate podcasts on the internet. They live with their mother, Grace, who used to be an actress, and she is separated from her husband, Jeff, who, even though they're separated, lives in the house next door to them with his girlfriend, Ashley. So it's a very complicated family dynamic, and they have lots of arguments and discussions and disagreements and things. And the action kind of starts when Sasha meets a couple of characters from Winter, and they kind of get tangled up in each other's lives. And I think, if anything, this kind of serves as a sequel to Winter. I would definitely recommend reading Winter, at least, before you read this one, because I think there are potentially some spoilers that might affect you. And there are also characters and themes and topics and motifs from the other books that come into play in this book, and it's honestly really cool seeing how everything fits together and seeing how all the different characters are related. I think all the little clues and puzzle pieces come together in a really satisfying way. Besides that kind of present day storyline, you also get a lot of flashbacks. Particularly there is one section in the middle that is set during World War II and follows two siblings. One of them is living in England, but he gets sent to an internment camp in the Isle of Man. And then the other sibling, she is German, but she lives in France, and she is kind of trying to get refugees out of Nazi-occupied territory. And, you know, that's a very dangerous thing to do, and we get to kind of see how she navigates the logistics and the emotions of doing that. As always, I found the prose really great in this book. Ali Smith writes so lyrically, and then she also writes dialogue that is just so realistic. Like, the characters kind of go off on tangents and, you know, trail off with their trains of thought, and yeah, it's just very realistic dialogue that's just quite mundane and quite intimate, but really nice to read. I did find that occasionally the plot was dragging just a little bit. It felt quite slow paced, but then every so often you would get this amazing section of prose that just made all of that worth it. So I didn't feel like I wanted to put down the book at all. I did absolutely whiz through this. It took me, you know, 2 or 3 days to read a nearly 400-page book, which is pretty good. I wouldn't say this is my favourite book in the series. I think my favourite book is still Winter. I just don't think anything beats that really atmospheric, wintry vibe of that book. This book does feel a little bit more summery, although, again, the main kind of plot line of the book doesn't actually happen in summer. It happens in winter, which is, you know, it doesn't really make much sense, but there are enough scenes set in summer and there are enough discussions about summer to make this book feel summery. Much more so than spring, which did not feel like spring at all, and that is probably still my least favourite of the 3 books in the series that I've read. I think it goes spring, then summer, then winter. And I guess we'll see how autumn and companion piece fit into that ranking when I read them. So that is Summer by Ali Smith, and I did really enjoy it. I did get through it pretty quickly. So yeah, I think I've achieved what I set out to do in this video. That is to get myself out of a reading slump enough so that I can sit down and properly enjoy a literary fiction book. So yeah, great success. So we're just going to finish off by doing a little bit of a recap now. I read these 5 books in this video. Most of them are summery vibes. This one isn't particularly, but it still helped to get me out of my reading slump. And yeah, I had a good time. Like, all of the books were at least 4 stars, and I even found one 5-star read in the mix, which, you know, is my 4th 5-star read of the year, which is pretty good going. I hadn't actually read a 5-star book since May, when I read The Temple of Fortuna, and the bar was set pretty high with that one. So yeah, I really enjoyed The End Council a lot. And I enjoyed all of the books in this video, to be honest. So yeah, overall, my advice to get out of a reading slump is to try a few things. Try reading a book by an author that you know you really like. For me, that was Emily Henry. Or trying a genre that you know you enjoy, that doesn't require a huge amount of brain power to get through. For me, again, romance, so I guess Emily Henry helps in that respect as well. Read a short book, like for me, Heatwave, which was just over 100 pages long, and I read that within a single train journey, so that was good. Or even find a book that you are actually excited to read. I know that could be quite a big ask when you are in the middle of a reading slump and reading doesn't particularly interest you and you're not that motivated, but I feel like there will always be something that might, I don't know, interest you or excite you a little bit to read. For me, that was the excitement of The End Council coming out and me finally getting my hands on a copy. So yeah, those are kind of a few things you could try to get out of a reading slump. I hope they work for you. I hope at least one of them works for you, because reading slumps suck. Especially if you're like me and you read a whole lot, because if you run out of motivation to read, then what else am I supposed to do with my day? Do I just sit on my phone scrolling through TikTok for even longer than I normally do? Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that you maybe got some helpful tips out of it, maybe. And maybe if you know any tricks to get out of a reading slump, or any books or authors that have helped you in the past, leave them in the comments below. I love to get recommendations for books and authors. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to my channel if you want more content. And if you want even more content off of YouTube, then you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok and the Storygraph. My username on all of those platforms is @WithLivJones. Thanks so much again for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!